if my team was coming first on the ladder, I probably wouldn't change it.
And have you always had a junior pathway system that just hasn't worked for 25 years, or is this a new thing?
I mean, it's hard to argue. No finals footy in 15 years. I don't really have a leg to stand on here. West Tigers have a more promising future than the Bulldogs.
That's very appropriate. He was just praising the Tigers' future, so that's good to hear. Here we go.
Lachlan Galvin's mid-season signing was the catalyst for Bulldogs' downfall last season.
Oh, hard to argue there, Winston.
I literally fell on some bloke and I saw him at Magic Round the next week.
Belmore is better than Leichhardt.
Oh, that's a big call.
It's crazy.
It's a big call.
It's crazy. My club's fan base is more passionate than yours.
Hi, I'm Roasty and welcome to Change My Mind, brought to you by the Isuzu MU-X. This is a show where two diehard rugby league fans go face to face, debating the topics they swear by and refuse to back down on. Welcoming onto the show, we have a huge Bulldogs fan in Winston Neville and a huge Tigers fan in Matty G. Boys, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you hate each other's club?
Oh, after last season, the Tigers are right up there, to be honest. Maybe an 8.
Yeah, nice.
I'd go a 10.
Yeah, 10 out of 10. That's what we want to hear. Okay, guys, let's kick it off. Winston, you got a first topic for us?
The Tigers are the biggest underachievers in the NRL.
Ooh, spicy. Did it hit hard or what?
You know, I'm a bit of a truth teller, and I would say the Tigers of old, maybe.
Yep.
But not the Tigers of now. That's for sure. I think this year we're going to surprise a lot of people, and we're going to prove a lot of people wrong. Look, we have underachieved in the past.
Yep.
I'm not going to deny that.
One comp in, 26 years?
Yep, 3 final series as well.
Yep.
No finals footy for, what's it been now, 15 years? So, look, it's hard to argue against that. But I would say the squad we've got now, the vibe we've got now, and the culture that Benji's building is exactly what we need to finally reach that top 8 and push for a premiership within the next few years.
Do you reckon you've been saying that for the last 15 years?
I think I have, but I don't think I've believed it. And now I do. I think that's the difference. Now I actually believe it. Maybe that is being around the club a lot more and getting a bit more of an insight. But it's looking good. It's looking good. So I'm excited for this year.
Yeah, cool. It's just like looking into the future. I think any fan can say that. I think you're still an underachiever just because it looks good now.
Yeah, but I mean, it's hard to argue. No finals footy in 15 years. I don't really have a leg to stand on here.
It's almost like it hasn't changed your mind. That was your mind already, right?
Yeah. I feel like I concur.
Yeah. Good start. What's your next statement then, Matty? What have you got for us?
All right, we've got West Tigers have a more promising future than the Bulldogs.
That's very appropriate. He was just glazing the Tigers' future, so that's good to hear. I feel like as a Bulldogs fan, coming off a top 4 finish, a top 8 finish the year before, as a Bulldogs fan, looking at where the Tigers are now, I feel like, we've been there through just losing every single season and wooden spoons and not making finals. I feel like our drought wasn't as long, but, we've been there as well. But to be coming off a top 8 finish into a top 4 finish, having the coach, the GM, the captain all signed for multiple years, 5+ years, 6+ years, I feel like that's a more promising spot than just not even being in the top 8 yet.
Good point. Also, though, top 4 finish, but then out in straight sets. Pretty poor finish to a, otherwise all right season. I'm talking more looking forward 15 years, though. We've got a better pathway system than the Dogs. You've got a premiership window now, I would agree. But if you don't make it work now, where are you in 5 years? Where are you in 6 years, I think the players that we've got coming up through the ranks, you saw the young guns that played against, the Chookies on the trial. Those are stars of the future, and they've all come through, our pathway system. And that pathway system's only getting stronger too, especially the new CEO. He's very big on that. And I just think with the area itself, the Macarthur region is fastest growing area of Sydney. and I think the talent is just going to keep coming through. The trick now is getting everyone to stay, and I think that has flipped. Like, our recruitment's a lot better. People are proud to play for the West Tigers again. I think that was missing for a long time. And I just see, as Bulldogs, you've bought well, but it's buying well, and that period runs out, whereas we've built it from the ground up. So that's the difference, and that's why I think we're going to brighter future.
And have you always had a junior pathway system that just hasn't worked for 25 years, or is this a new thing? Because I'm pretty sure there's always been one, and there hasn't really been success off of it.
I think look, there has been successful players. It's about us keeping them. I think if you look at, the players that have come through our system, some of them are some of the best players in the world. Look at James Tedesco, Ryan Pappenhausen, these stars that we've unfortunately let go. And I think that's where the change is now. I think our culture at the club is something that players actually want to be a part of. And I think that's what wasn't there, like you said, for the past, 25. That's crazy. We won the comp in 05. Let's calm down. But I think, the past 15 years, before the changes we've seen now with Benji coming in and with Richo and now Sean Millercamp, I think a lot of those pathways were forgotten about, and I don't think there was as much, emphasis put on the importance of growing that. And I think that's flipped now, and we're going to see the fruits of it. So
he's touched on a fair bit of the buying that the Bulldogs have done over the last few years. With other clubs coming in, the Bulldogs could get raided with players if you continue with the success that you've had like in the last couple of years. Do you worry that that you've bought these players, you're losing some juniors in the pathways, that you're not set up in the future to be as successful as what he's claiming the Tigers to be?
No, I don't think so. First of all, I find it interesting that Tigers fans claiming the Bulldogs buy players when your two best players were bought from the Panthers. Dremler and Api Korosia. That's interesting. And it's hard for me to talk, Bulldogs fan. Stephen Crichton's probably our best player. But I think you guys are in the same boat. We just both buy from Panthers, and that is what it is. I think Dogs have heaps of juniors coming through. Yep. I'd have to run the numbers, but I'd be shocked if Tigers have as many juniors in their starting 17 at the moment as the Bulldogs do. I think, Jacob Karaz is a really good example of a junior coming through. Jacob Preston debuted at the club, and they're two rap level footy players that have come through the system. And like you touched on the Tigers in the trial, and there's terrific juniors. The Bulldogs showed they've got plenty of terrific juniors in their trial as well. I think, and like to your point, I feel like the whole area thing, I think that's a very solid argument. I'd agree that the Macarthur region is a better area and a big area for bringing through players. But I think at the end of the day, it comes down to the club bringing them through and keeping them. And I just don't know. Hopefully it changes, but I just don't think Tigers are very good at that historically.
Well, we'll have to come back in 10 years' time and see who's right. Did he end up trying to change your mind?
No, I don't think my mind's changed. As I said, credit to the argument of the whole, it being a bigger region. And as somebody that was in the Tigers position, maybe 5 years ago of the junior system starting to be developed, I do hope that it plays out the way you want it to.
All right, Winston, what do you got next for us, mate?
Belmore is better than Leichhardt.
Oh, that's a big call.
It's crazy.
That's a big call.
It's crazy. Look, honestly, it's not. It's much smaller. How many games can you hold there a year? You have one there?
What's the capacity of Leichhardt?
Currently 16,000.
So it's the same size then.
Is that how many can fit in Belmore?
I think Belmore's 18.
Well, yeah, but it's...
Why?
No, look, honestly, I love suburban footy, so I'm not going to talk bad about Belmore, but Leichhardt Oval is just iconic. I think it sums up what suburban footy is all about. That hill, I mean, you can't beat it. Like that that packed hill, just for TV, right? How good it looks on TV, I think just like it does wonders for the game. I think even if you're not a Tigers fan, people like coming to Leichhardt Oval just to experience it. I think the banter is some of the best banter I've ever heard, and and the best part is the players, like the opposition team, they can hear you, like they hear every word. And I think that's why, like, when you look at Tigers' record at our home grounds, it's the only one we've got a winning record at, which I think is quite, like, it's actually impressive because we haven't had many winning record seasons, you know. So just goes to show how much that actually adds to, I guess, the performance on field. And I don't think you guys get that same thing at Belmore. I just don't think it makes... I don't think it would make Bulldogs fans feel the same way Leichhardt makes Tigers fans feel. Yeah.
I'll give you the whole winning record at Leichhardt thing because for a period there, the Bulldogs felt cursed at Belmore. They'd never win there. I feel like the argument of it looking good on TV, Belmore Hill looks the exact same on TV in terms of like it's a hill on TV that's packed full of blue and white as opposed to, I guess, your two clubs. So you got like black and white and red and... No, not red, orange and black, sorry. But I think, the thing that people talk about Belmore is that it's a vibe and that it's magical and there's a feeling that you can't put into words. And I feel like, to be fair for Leichhardt, it's probably the same thing, that it's just something magic about it. I feel like for Belmore, though, the thing that preserves that magic is that we do only play there once or twice a year, where Leichhardt, you're sort of ruining the magic a bit by playing there so much. I feel like if Leichhardt stripped it back and played there once or twice, you're sort of... upholding that magic instead of sort of milking it and monetizing it. And I just feel like when Bulldogs play at Belmore, it sells out every time. I don't think Leichhardt's selling out every single time because you're playing there so much.
We only play there 3 times a year. So I don't think that's a lot.
Was there a season where you played more than 3 or maybe I'm just wrong?
Yes, there was. Recently, 2024.
Yeah.
We didn't have the CommBank deal ended, so we had six at Campbelltown, 6 at Leichhardt.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of.
And I love that, but I would actually, even though we have a winning record there, and I love Leichhardt, I would agree with you in that aspect. But I do think we still have that magic there because it's only 3 games a year.
And I'm not trying to say there's no magic there.
Yeah,
I just feel like Belmore, because it's only once or twice, it's an event, right? Like you saw what happened.
Leichhardt feels the same way, but for Tigers fans.
But like you saw what happened at Belmore last year. The Bulldogs beat the Titans in round 3. It was completely meaningless, and the street next to Belmore exploded. The police had to come and shut it down because the Bulldog fans just went nuts because that's just the vibe that Belmore brings. And I haven't seen that happen at Leichhardt. I haven't been to many Tigers games at Leichhardt. Maybe they are shutting down streets and having parties next door, but I don't think they are.
Yeah. Well, look, I think obviously there's different cultures as well at different clubs. We're not going to probably shut down streets until we make it into the top 8. then we'll shut down the streets. But in terms of the actual ground itself, I think we still get that event sort of feeling, and that special, like you can just tell it's something more than just a footy game. Those days, those Leichhardt days, and also the Orange Grove, which is the pub just down. Like it's probably the only pub really within just walking. Like it's the closest pub in walking distance. That place, like the game will be at 4 p.m, 11 a.m. There's a line out the door. People coming in. So maybe not shutting down streets, but we're shutting down that pub, and we're tearing it up in there. So I think same sort of vibes, just different cultures, I guess. But look, I think I'll always back Leichhardt. I'm a Tigers fan, So.
I think the only way to decide this is we all go to Leichhardt for a game, have a beer and a pie up on the hill, and then we go to Belmore when it's done.
Done.
All right, Winston, you made the statement, but you need to reinforce it with with favourite moment. What's your favourite moment at Belmore?
It's not even a question for me. 2017 Bulldogs versus Knights. I feel it was around 17 or 18. That's how well I remember it. I was in high school and it was Josh Reynolds' last game at Belmore, which was such a big deal because Belmore's such a key part of being a Bulldog. And the Bulldogs getting absolutely towed up by a very average Newcastle Knights side. And they put on this miracle comeback. They scored 3 tries in 5 minutes, ended up winning the game. And as soon as the siren went, all the fans just stormed the field, cheered Josh Reynolds off. They weren't meant to be on the field, but all the fans just cheered it. And cheered Josh Reynolds off, chanting his name. It was magical.
And back to you, Leichhardt. What's your favourite moment?
There's a couple that come to mind from the last few years. The flogging of Cowboys was a great night there. It was just a party. The whole hill was just a party. But in terms of that raw emotion of a high stress environment and then just relief and was Adam Dewey taking that penalty goal against Cronulla last season, and the whole hill, and he just took so long to end that whole hill. When he kicked that goal, it went through, and we won the game. God, that I've never seen that hill erupt like that.
You see, I remember social media and the phones just shaking.
Oh yeah, I fell on someone. I literally fell on some bloke, and I saw him at Magic Round the next week.
Apologies to that bloke.
Yeah, I was 115 kilos landing on him. Sorry about that.
All right, Matty, what do you got for your next statement to change Winston's mind?
Well, it wouldn't be a debate of Tigers Bulldogs if I didn't bring up this bloke's name.
Here we go.
Lachlan Galvin's mid-season signing was the catalyst for Bulldogs' downfall last season.
Oh, hard to argue there, Winston.
Well, yeah, it's like, first of all, you can break down the question. Did the Bulldogs have a downfall, finishing top 4, going a week further into the finals than they did? If you want to call that a downfall, I mean, they went from first to third. I guess that's 2 spots down the ladder. Fair enough. I feel like it was inevitable, to be honest. Whether Galvin came in and played halves, whether Toby Sexton kept playing in the halves, it was inevitable. I'd like to hear like why you think that's the case.
Well, it's not to do with Lockie's talent, because obviously I know how talented he is. It's more so the fact that I just don't think it had to happen last season. I think it could have been a much cleaner break for everyone if he got a full preseason coming into this year. And I just don't think it had to be rushed the way it did. You guys were sitting top of the table, and you send your halfback to play cup, and you bring Lachlan Galvin into the team. I think it also hurt team morale. You guys were flying, like you guys were actually flying. Your fans truly believed like this was your year, and I was believing it too. I thought Bulldogs, they're killing it, like. And I think the moment that change was, and it's not to do with Lockie's, it's nothing to do with how talented Lockie is. It's just the fact that you've changed your spine halfway through a season when you're sitting on the top of the table. Just didn't make logical sense to me.
Do you think if Lockie didn't come in, that you would have went better?
Yeah, possibly. Like to your point, Bulldogs were absolutely killing it. I do question though how 11 rounds into the season, the Bulldogs had lost I think 1 game. And all the NRL fans are pointing at them saying they've had an easy draw, and then the halfback gets dropped, and then everyone's sort of pointing at that as, the turning point of the season. It's like, well, did we have an easy draw or didn't we? I feel like the first 11 weeks, it was a pretty soft draw. We played one top 4 or top 8 team in the Broncos and got absolutely towed up at Suncorp. The game where we came back and beat the Raiders, that first half, we had like 6 back-to-back sets attacking the line, and Toby Sexton did absolutely nothing. That was a miracle that we even came back and beat the Raiders in that game, and that would have been 2 losses to actual good teams. So I feel like whether it was Sexton steering the ship for the back end or Galvin, it didn't really change much because it was just such a weak draw to start the season. That's sort of what was building the momentum. I feel like, yeah, there was some games we won at the back end of the season where if Toby Sexton was a halfback, I don't think we win them. Like one that comes to mind is when we beat the Dragons and Galvin threw the match-winning pass. Toby Sexton doesn't throw those passes. So I feel like Galvin, sure, I agree to some extent that culturally and disrupting, combos and whatnot, for sure. But yeah, I feel like either way there was going to be a downfall. Like if we're talking purely, that's the reason for the downfall, the drop a couple of positions. I think we're always going to drop a couple of positions on the ladder.
Yeah, I think that was inevitable. Like it's going to happen, right? Like the bubble's going to burst for most teams throughout a season. It's a long season. My sort of take on it would be that with the if the culture is 100% at a club and that team bond is firing on all cylinders, that little setbacks during the season you shake that off and then you power on. And I just think you guys had such a good opportunity to just really use that last year. I thought the culture was just so good, and I think it did get damaged by bringing in this new kid on the block, and I just don't think you ever regained what you had at the start of the 2025 season. And in the end it did cost you. You got a top 4 spot, but then you went out in straight sets.
But if you take the Bulldogs in the first 11 weeks with Toby Sexton at halfback and put them up against the Storm, who go on to make the grand final, or put them up against the Penrith Panthers, who had won 4 straight grand finals, I think they lose in the semi-finals anyway. They went straight set, sure, but they lost to 2 of the best teams ever. Storm are one of the best, if not the best club ever. And if it's not Storm, Panthers are. They came third. I don't know why we're talking about the Bulldogs if they fell out of the top 8. They came third. They fell 2 positions after having a very soft opening 12 weeks.
Yeah. Yeah, look, it was still a good finish, but majority of people would agree that they could have done a lot more with that season. It was disappointing to see him go out. Like back-to-back losses and quite a few losses in the back part of that season. I just feel like I think we underrate and undervalue what team morale and having that that bond can really do. I think Penrith does it so well, and I think that's why half of the reason why they've been so successful.
Do you rate the Tigers team morale in 2025? Do you reckon they had a good bond?
I think we did.
Because they didn't finish top 8.
No, but we didn't finish last.
Wow, what a sad brag.
Yeah, but it was an improvement, and there was a lot of improvement.
But the Bulldogs improved. They jumped up to 3rd after finishing 6th.
I agree, but they improved out of sight at the start of the year, and then had a decrease in performance. And maybe
do you think if it was the same Bulldogs lineup, like Sexton instead of Galvin in the finals, they win one of those games?
I don't think it's Sexton or Galvin that's the issue, right? It's not about their talent. To be honest, I think Lockie's more talented than Toby Sexton.
You're focusing more on when the signing came in.
Yes, it's just I just don't know why. Yeah, exactly.
I just don't know if there was that much disruption.
There definitely was disruption.
They still managed to come into 3rd. As you said, Gavin's a better player than Sexton. They had to put him in eventually. I agree that obviously, ideally, you're not going to mix up your spine mid-season, but to get Lockie Galvin into the club, it was either sign him right then and there or just don't have him, essentially, because, Eels would have snapped him up or someone else would have snapped him up. They had to bring him in, and the long-term play was to bring him in now. Then you're probably not just going to sit him in New South Wales Cup if he's a better player than Toby Sexton.
If my team was coming first on the ladder, I probably wouldn't change it.
I just think they would have fallen anyway. If they fell to 7th or 8th, then fair enough. But they fell 2 spots and still finished top 4. I think based on the draw and based on how Toby Sexton was performing at halfback, I think that fall off was inevitable. So I don't think it's solely to blame for Galvin coming in.
So just get a couple of quick statements from you in regards to Lockie Galvin. Once it happened, obviously you didn't want to see him leave, but it was almost a relief to see him go finally, with all the speculation and all that. How did you feel after it was all said and done?
Oh, I was happy that the saga was over. I think it was a very toxic disruption to our season last year. People forget we were doing pretty well too up until he announced he wasn't re-signing, and then all the drama unfolded. But just to see him leave and we could then move on, of course that was nice, But then I circled in that game against Bulldogs, and I set my eyes on that, and we got the win. So I'm happy. I'm happy to let it go. I wish him all the best.
All right, boys. Final round. What have you got for us?
My club's fan base is more passionate than yours.
Wow.
Oh, Winston, start us off.
Well, I feel like Bulldogs fans obviously been around since 1935. Tigers only the year 2000. Obviously, 2 clubs coming together. I feel like maybe that is a pro for you in that you get double the size of the fan base. But based on what we saw earlier this year, all the infighting between the fan bases and a year 1 club, a year 2 clubs, kind of crazy. Whereas the Bulldogs, we've been 1 club for 90 years, and it's a big fan base. We were selling out, or close to selling out Accor on 2 occasions this year. Accor Stadium is notorious for being such a bad stadium for rugby league games during the regular season, and Bulldogs were half filling it up, 30, 40,000 fans week in, week out, breaking records. Not every club can do that, right? I feel like, you have the Broncos who sell out Suncorp Stadium a lot and Storm, but if we're just looking at Bulldogs compared to Tigers, I don't even think it's a contest, to be honest.
Oh, throwing it out there. Matty, you got a response. Why is your club more passionate?
Oh, well, because 15 years, no finals, and we're still selling out grounds, I think that speaks for itself. We can be bottom of the table, and if we have a Leichhardt Oval game on a Sunday at 4 p.m, it's getting sold out.
Wow, 16,000 people. Crazy.
Well, it's better than what Bulldogs were getting at Accor Stadium when, yous were going bad. What were you getting, 11,000 to a game, 10,000, if that? Lucky to get that.
If my math is correct, 11,000 is less than 16. So.
Yeah, I'd like to pull up the Tigers numbers during this, the 3 spoon years. Pull up some stats, but
yeah, well, look,
I don't know if Leichhardt's selling out week in, week out.
It's even to get 14,000 there. Well, we don't play there week in, week out. That's another thing. Tigers fans have to travel to 3 different home grounds, right? And they do travel well. We also travel well for away games. We travel well to all over the place. And I just think Bulldogs. I respect what you guys did last year. I thought it was great for the game, and I'll stand by that. But would that continue when you aren't doing too well? I don't think so. I mean, I was at the Doggies Panthers final last year. Do you know how many fans I saw leave at halftime because usually we're getting flogged? It just wouldn't happen with the Tigers. It just wouldn't happen.
I feel like that it happens with almost every fan. I was at State
Not
of
that
Origin.
amount. Not
I
that
was
amount.
at State of Origin this year, game 1, and like Queensland fans were leaving. Are we calling Queensland fans not passionate?
Yes.
I feel like
I say yes as a New South
I feel
Wales.
like that's just rugby league. Like, you're going to have fair weather fans. It'd be ignorant of me to say, Bulldog fans don't leave games where they're not bandwagon. That's 100%.
Look,
but
every club would have it. Right?
Let's look at Tigers now, and then eventually, if you do become good, I feel like the exact same thing's going to happen.
100%.
You'll double your attendances. But
100%. I just think that our core supporters have stuck strong to go through 15 years and not a one finals game. I mean, there's kids who are 15 years old and never watched the Tigers play in the finals. That's crazy.
Yeah.
And for those, especially kids, to stick by a club and to be, passionate and buy a membership every year. And I know so many people like this, through doing content, I meet, so many different fans and hear these stories. And I just think if it was any other club, I don't think you'd have that sort of support. It would be interesting to see what that Doggies fan base is like, if you're not in the top 8. But I think Tigers fans, I think it speaks for itself. But I don't think that passion that we saw last year is ingrained in Doggies culture. I think it's ingrained in winning culture. And yeah, you guys did great. I thought it was great for the game. I just don't think it exists if you're not flying.
yeah, I don't agree, to be honest. I feel like the culture that you see from the Dogs fans, that is the Bulldogs culture. Like, if you look at what happens when they play at Belmore, or, all the street parties in Belmore, that's not winning culture. That's just how Bulldog fans are. And we sort of touched on it earlier with the Belmore versus Leichhardt debate. Like, it's 2 different cultures, and the Bulldogs culture, that's what it is. Being a fan, you go out and you're partying and you're celebrating because you just love it so much. And you're in the area. Tigers fans are like, and you sort of touched on it, they're spread out. You're from 2 or 3 different areas. The Bulldogs fans are from one area. It's Canterbury, Bankstown, and you're tied to that area. Like, I'm a Bulldogs fan because my great-grandparents were in the area. Like, it's in your blood. It's in your DNA. That's what being a Bulldogs fan is. And, like, you can compare, where you are now to where the Bulldogs were at their lowest. I'd like to see the Tigers replicate what the Bulldogs are doing now when you're at the highest. And I don't think you could get 40,000 to Accor Stadium.
Oh, yes, we could.
When you're
100%.
good. I just don't think you could.
Absolutely, we could. Absolutely. If we make the finals this year, they'll have to move the game to a call because we'd be selling it out.
Hopefully we see you guys go head-to-head late in the year, both in the top 4, and we get to see who's going to sell out a call. Great arguments from both of you. Thanks very much.
Awesome.
All right, guys, bonus round. Now, I need you to pick a player that's going to cover every position from 1 to 13. Go head-to-head. I'll start with you, Winston. Who have you got?
I'm going to go, give me Stephen Crichton.
Stephen Crichton.
Yep.
Only been there a couple of years, but he's doing well. Who's your player?
I'm going to go the player that tore up Dogs last season. He can play pretty much anywhere. Adam Dewey.
Adam Dewey.
Sorry.
All right. Argue.
Hey, he wasn't laughing whatever round it was last year.
Argue for Stephen Crichton how he'd win that game.
Well, he's won premierships on the wing. He's won premierships at centre. He's been to World Cup finals at fullback, so he covers the entire back line. He's played in the halves before. It might not be his best position, but he can do it. And I think he has the physicality to survive in the forwards. I think we've seen him towel up left and right edges physically.
Yep.
Especially against Adam Dewey. Like, I don't think Adam Dewey could even tie his shoelaces, to be honest.
Broke his ankles.
Broke
his ankles a few times last year.
Maybe for training.
How would Adam Dewey win that game?
Look, I just think he has that dog in him, and it's clear from he's a player who's copped a lot of injuries, and he's always come back better. He's a great centre. Now he's gone into the halves, and I thought he tore up at halfback last year towards the end of the season. I just think, it speaks for itself at how his performance against the Dogs. He was the best player on the field, I thought, that day. And yeah, I just like that he can just play anywhere. He's the man that says, yep, sweet, let's go. And he's a big body. He can kick field goals. He can kick penalty, kick goals. So there's your goal kicker. There's your.
I was going to say both goal kickers, so it might even come down to who's the best goal kicker.
Yeah, I mean, Critter's got that clutch factor though, doesn't he? I mean, Dewey's had some clutch moments, but has he done it? Has he done it?
He's the clutch man at Leichhardt Oval.
Yeah. Well, at Leichhardt, I mean, Stephen Crichton's done in World Cup finals in Origin on the grand final stage. I don't think Adam Dewey's even played on half those stages.
Oh, well, but coming up against each other, it's just 2 men on the field, mate.
Question about
13.
Who's 13? Yeah. So,
At least if Adam Dewey gets injured, he's got 12 others to cover
2 men
for
just
him.
multiple times.
The question will be, will Adam Dewey compensate? That was,
he'll compensate.
Great argument, boys. Thank you. Well, that was heated between you two. Thanks for bringing some great arguments. Thanks for joining me on Change My Mind, brought to you by the Isuzu MU-X.